that time I'll have the picture and stuff up.
Okay, we're just gonna keep the seat warm.
Okay.
Tawabala wants to know where's the link.
It should be in his Telegram already. One moment. I'll go ahead and make sure. I just send it again to make sure that he has it. And actually, it would be a personal notification. So it would be probably under my name. So it would say Jazzy, and then the link would be there like that. But when he opens it, it's going to say it came from you.
So we'll just get the brothers enough time to actually come to the live, and I can go ahead and get the live chat pulled up for us.
Okay. I sent it again. It does say that he checked it the first time, but I sent it again. So everyone should have it at this point.
Okay, we'll just give them a few minutes.
Okay.
I'm posting in the live chat.
Okay.
So we'll have that.
And I'm setting up the other part that I discussed that I would set up.
Okay. Yeah, you can put that on.
Rahubat, Usra.
Rahubat.
Okay.
So we got one of the brothers. Chat.
So
I'm setting this up in the chat. For some reason, it doesn't want to let me send this.
yeah, it won't let me send what we discussed either or upload it. Okay, I'll do a little bit different than what I was gonna do in that.
I had to do it on like 2-part.
Okay.
Okay, you want to put the book up there so we can
It should be coming through now. I was attempting to do the other thing and it just wasn't working, but I'm posting the book now. You see it?
Yes, I do. All right, we just still waiting on the brothers to get in the building. Don't forget to like, subscribe, and share this video. We about to have a powerful dialogue tonight. I want all the brothers kind of present. Hey, brother Tawabala is in the building. Rahubat, bro. We're just waiting on the other brothers to come.
Rahubat.
Brothers responded. So just give it a few more minutes and we'll see how it goes. I should have did this on my computer so I can be able to call the brothers.
I'm gonna give one more try to what we discussed and see how it goes. One moment, okay?
Okay. We got the brother Abe on line. So he's here. There's a couple more brothers that need to join in, so we'll give them a few more minutes.
Oh, this light in here is not good either. It was good last time. It looks so dark. Move that light bulb. Yeah, that's what it is. The light bulb's on. I ain't paying no attention to it. It's a light bulb on. Hold on.
All right. So let's just give the brothers a chance to get in.
I'm about to change my light bulb. It's real dark in here today. Let me change my light bulb real fast. But I'm still here.
Can you send the sister Taya the link, like to her personal?
On Messenger, I could do that to Messenger.
I'm talking to Jazzy because she has the link.
Yeah, I got it.
I didn't see you on there. I didn't see you on there. My bad. You said anyway.
It's all good.
Let me change this light bulb real fast. It's real dark in here. Man, you didn't even say it was dark in here, babe.
I can still see. I know.
You got young guys. We ain't got them young guys like you do. Young guys see you in the middle of the night. I can see.
I can't.
should have made sure. I should have made sure I had light bulbs. Can I use them all
Look at
last
that,
time?
it's lighter.
Where is it? Spider came.
Lighter, though. You don't feel
It's
like,
That's the first time he was catching my spider.
wait, no, I said it's lighter.
Oh, lighter. Yeah, it is lighter.
You really like that?
I'm feeling the bulb in there. I could leave like it.
No, it's lighter.
All right, let's see how many people we already have here. I don't know what's going on with everybody. So we got the brother Tawabala, Abe, me, and the sister.
Let me see. Let me see.
We'll give it 10 more minutes to keep the seat warm. We're about to be live.
It is lighter.
That'll give us time to open up the live chat and see what's going on.
So you want it to be like a mini sun?
Yeah. Like the big thing. Close the blinds.
We also to actually promote to the brothers and sisters that with a $10 donation, they're going to get the first 1,000 people. I'm hoping that be generous and get the information out to the brothers and sisters that really want to learn. But the first 1,000 people with the $10 donation, and they send their email address, we're going to send them both books, The Four Noble Facts and The Fivefold Noble Path.
That sounds good.
I'm gonna turn the air conditioner on here. You ready? I hate the winter time. I don't like heat. I mean, I don't like being in hot houses. But chairs
It
and
is
chairs.
possible.
If it wasn't for chairs, there will be no heat on here.
So give me a second to actually call the rest of the brothers and sisters to come. I don't know if I have to leave the chat, but just give me a second.
All right. How they get in there? You know, bugs always trying to find the smallest places, just like you. You're my little bug. You just find the smallest spaces to get in. Oh. All right, like I'm ready to rap now. I'm ready to rap now.
Don't do all the things.
Okay, so Jazzy, I just got off the phone with the brother Kyle. He said that you may have to resend the link because he doesn't have he's not able to join in through that link. So I don't need if it's more easier, you can actually send it to the regular group and I'll tell them to go to the group and join in.
Okay, I'll do that.
All right.
I did send individual, but I'm sending it out right now.
Okay, so I just joined in the Telegram, the Imperial Order group.
Okay.
And manage your device. Easy access control device and tablet. Tap your voice. Oh, this is Alexa trying to ask me stuff. What's wrong with it?
They be so rude, those little bots.
Yeah. It popped up on the screen. I clicked on it. I'm like, what is this? It's Alexa. I'm trying to see if I want to use voice command.
Mm-hmm. They claim it's trying to be helpful.
Right. Interruptive, if anything.
Key point.
Let me see. Where's that thing I just took down? I just took loaded somewhere. Yeah, the boat. There you go. Put this aside there for me. No.
All right, so I just got off the phone with Kyle, and the brother said that he's pretty much he got the link, so he hopped out of the live to basically send it to the other brothers. So just give us a second, family.
Okay, what else you gotta do? You got no math? You know you need to do on your math. You see, how you don't know if you got it or not? You started writing yourself down, paying attention. And why you got this ugly ass photo? Go get one of the photos out. All the photos and everything about it, man. You still want to rock these photos halfway hanging on by threads. What's going on? Show this photo, man.
Right back.
Well, Wes.
Pardon me for being late.
No worries. Technology does what it wants to when it feels like it.
No, I'm a little ahead of myself trying to rush, you know. When you late, you rush more and you become more late. I know that lesson, but I don't know. I fell for it today.
Hey, we all do sometimes. But if you're not making a mistake, you're not growing, so it's all good.
Right.
Where's it supposed to be? What? They don't know that. Why they gonna know that? You make it even look like it's a landmass. So like a landmass? Why didn't you draw the law? Why don't you draw like a scroll or something like that? Or like, you know the type of scrolls they show you when they have like laws on them, you can draw, or a stack of papers.
Rahul, back to everyone that's joining.
Right.
Right. What is this? How you done with your homework? You ain't finished that. How about you just do that then? How about you do that? You left one. Look what's up. Nah, girl, come on. Finish this stuff.
So is everyone ready to expound their minds?
Yes.
Always.
Let's increase the frequency and density.
Yeah. With that being said, while we are waiting a little bit, Rahul, back to the person I just joined.
That's me.
Oh,
So, so I was gonna get some more sisters in here. Seeing as though most of the questions was directly to me, the initial plan was to actually have the brothers on and let them give their perspective of different things. But as we went through the questioning, or setting it up last night, it was more based on asking certain questions to me so that I can be able to answer the questions, and I'm fine with that. So we can jump right into it. So I know the sister sent me in the Telegram. Let me get to it first. The list that we went over last night. And so I want to expound on certain things. So I think that Jesus had brought up the topic of Zom, the word we use for the spell of Leviathan. Do you guys want to start there, or do you guys have any questions that you just have, like you just been, thinking about since we last talked yesterday, and we could spark that dialogue and go into other subject matter? We're gonna have two of the sisters here tonight, and we can go from there.
I guess that'd be a good place to start. I guess expounding on the spell of Zom. I think what more so the to reference the question Jesus posed, it was more so I guess the information was more presented in a towards the religious aspects as being the main way one is under the spell. And as we've already discussed, there's other aspects of being under the spell, and there's other ways one can be under the spell. So I think he just was looking to have you expound in that area.
Okay, cool. So let's deal with that real quick. So when we use the term Zalm, spelled Z-L-M, it comes from the three-part verb ZLM in Nuapic, which forms the simple present tense term Zalum, which means to ignore, right? And according to the teachings of the master teacher, the spell of Leviathan is basically the spell of spiritual ignorance and racial blindness. These two concepts represented a form of incognizance, if that's a word, towards who we are as a people, as well as the spiritual as well as secular education that we've been given, being misinformation, causing fundamental misconceptions of reality. So, in simplistic terms, when we speak about the spell of Leviathan, all we're saying is that through some form of education, be it religious or secular, that we have developed fundamental misconceptions of reality. And most times that's interpreted with our emotions versus our reasoning, and allows us to pretty much embrace concepts that are, rationally and factually untrue. It doesn't necessarily mean that this comes from religion specifically, right? But what it does means is whatever educational system, because we have to first be aware that irregardless of whether it's a religion, be it Christianity, Islam, Judaism, or whether it's that you're in secular school, that is still a form of education, right? We all can agree that, the Bible teaches a certain level of history in relationship to the different nationalities or races of people that's outlined in the Bible, be it Jews, Hebrews, and the various different other nationalities, as well as the Quran and the Torah, right? It's a form of education. And school is a form of education, which we've been taught by the master teacher comes from the Hebrew word shul, which means a form of hell. And the reason why we take that stance is because misinformation is a form of mental slavery or mental bondage, which it goes back to the three primary axioms. The second primary axiom is the purpose of the mind is to acquire and apply knowledge to solve problems related to survival. So the facts remain that there's no way that we can realistically or rationally solve problems with misinformation. So if it be in a religion or if it be in a school system that people are feeding us misinformation, we cannot take that information and rationally solve problems that's going to actually give us a better and progressive level of survival. Y'all can take it from there. Any more? Y'all can start giving me the questions.
So I think the reason why that question was brought up and why it was important is because I think for those who have kind of gotten wrestled out of the spell, so to speak, it's easier to recognize that. But for those still under the spell, especially if religion is the causation or one of the primary causations for them being under the spell, the way the information is presented for that audience would be perceived as an attack. And they wouldn't be able, because they're not operating rationally. They're looking at it through the lens that they've been trained to look at it through. So how would you be able to utilize the manual, the Four Noble Facts, in relation to trying to awaken people who are under the religious spell, so to speak?
Okay, so let's address that. So when the ancestors, I should say, spoke to me to be able to put together the Four Noble Facts based on what the master teacher actually disseminated to us inside of the spell of Leviathan 666, the beast as the Antichrist, and the various different scrolls that he's written to convey the message of what the spell is, and where it came from. First, it must be understood that the primary goal of the book, The Four Noble Facts, was to be able to outline the nature of the spell, right? Because the spell has a nature, and a nature is the characteristics. So the characteristics is that it's psychological and behavioral. Why? Because it affects our thought process as well as our behaviors. Then it goes from the nature of the spell to the origin of the spell, which means that it actually comes from somewhere, right? And in the Four Noble Facts, it's outlined that the spell originates from Luciferian controlled spiritual, secular, and racial miseducation. So in this particular point of view, we're saying that there is a form of miseducation that misguides us in our thought processes and ultimately our behavioral process, because as the master teacher outlined inside of the Holy Tablets, where the mind goes, the body will follow. So the third fact in the Four Noble Facts speaks about the breaking of the spell. And it says, according to the Holy Tablets, that the spell is broken when all dark-skinned, woolly-haired people with the ability to identify with non-ether are actually able to deny and reject alien religion, the spirit forces of alien religion, and their names. So what he was actually outlining for us is alien is not alien as in otherworldly. Alien means something that is foreign to us as a people. Religion did not naturally come with our culture, and it for other moments it's not. It doesn't directly resonate with us for most people, like in the conscious community, because for several reasons. One reason is because we are based on natural nature, right? Like living amongst the natural elements and being able to have a cohesive coexistence with the natural elements that actually sustain us as a people. So when we speak about the third fact in the Four Noble Facts, that the spell is broken when all dark-skinned, woolly-haired people with the power to identify with non-ether, is saying with the power to identify self and kind as being a part of the overall whole in nature that allows us to persist in our survival properly. And then when we go to the fourth fact in the Four Noble Facts is it deals with the Fivefold Noble Path, which are the 5 aspects or the methodology that we use to break the spell, right? Which we know starts psychologically, which the Fivefold Noble Path, or what we call in Nuwapic, the Chesed Gnaya Sabul, that means the same thing as Fivefold Noble Path in English. It's right knowledge, right wisdom, right understanding, which ultimately leads to sound right reasoning, which sound means something that is unshakable or firm. Right is a word that we use to represent things or information that are in accordance with the facts, and reasoning is logic. So sound right reasoning means for us to develop the capability and capacity to deal with things in the physical realm based on unshakable facts and logic, right? And so that became the methodology that we use to break the spell. So when we're talking about Zom, which is a term we use in the Wapik to represent the spell of Leviathan, we're talking about miseducation. And we're talking about information that is fed to us that gives us the idea that we can think, speak, or act in accordance with us being able to make the proper logical and rational decisions to aid and assist our survival as a species. Y'all can go ahead for the next question, or if y'all want me to expound on that more.
I just want to
It's
say,
kinda like
brother
saying-
Robot, I just want to say, this brother Yassine, that I just started reading this just before class. I had no knowledge of what Zom was.
Okay.
So I've been thinking. This is how I have been thinking for years already. So I mean, I'm there.
Okay, so let me say this to the family, as well as the people that's observing us on the live. Nuwabu was one of the most profound cultures and doctrines to ever come about, which was really just a conglomeration of things in our ancient societies that, we actually thought and practiced based on us having a thorough understanding of the natural forces of nature and how we relate to the origin, structure, and evolution of the universe, right? In simple terms. However, every culture, when you do research, or I should say, the mass majority of the cultures came with a foundation, a starting point. What I noticed about Nuwapu, from being raised in it all my life, is that wasn't so once when we came to the teachings of right knowledge, right wisdom, and right understanding. And what I mean by that is people were actually given books called scrolls, which were research sources by the master teacher, right, that just outlined a plethora of information. But when I started to do my travels and tabligh or teach people, I noticed that people asked basic questions that, depending on what scroll they started from, they didn't have a basic understanding of, what a Nuwapian stands on as the basic outline of the entire doctrine. So in other words, there wasn't a starting point. It's if you bought the Man from Planet Risk scroll, that's where you started from. If you brought the Right Knowledge scroll, that's where you started from. If you brought the Exodus series of scrolls that outlined that particular level of information, that's where you started from. But in other cultures, through my research now, I realized that there was an actual starting point, a basis, a foundation that people actually could start, that even if you never got into the higher level of the most, more complicated information, that information, I'm speaking about the essentials or the foundation, was enough for you to be able to apply that in your everyday living. So I noticed that there was a common thread with the master teacher's teachings, as well as going into the holy tablets. He actually gave an outline for a foundation to actually be set into motion. So what I did was I combined all those things and put it in a book form so that people, knew and understood like what we stand on as a people. So Zom is one of the parts of the foundation. And if anybody asks the question, why, as a Nuwapian, you have to understand this. The master teacher says that he comes to break the spell of Leviathan. and that in order to break the spell of the Leviathan, we needed right knowledge, right wisdom, and right understanding, right? So now, that means that if there was no such thing as the spell, there would be no need for Nuwabu, because Nuwabu pretty much is the doctrine that allowed us to basically be able to counteract the spell. So there's a certain common thread in the doctrine of Nuwapu, or the spiritual science of Nuwapu, that teaches us how to combat the spell of Leviathan. So if you go to chapter 10, tablet 12 in the Holy Tablets, and what I'm going to do is I'm going to outline exactly what was written and how the actual the foundation actually came about. So bear with me for a minute. Right? It says in chapter 10, tablet 12, verse 188 of the Holy Tablets, it says, knowledge received must be in organized sequence in order to put the mind in order and unity. Then verse 189 states, organize and put your minds in unity in order enough to qualify for your own effective spiritual science, Nuwapu, right? Then it says in 190, it will clear the fog in your single eye, which is talking about your third eye will reopen. So what he's saying is right knowledge is saying that if knowledge is not to be confusing and thereby ineffective, it must be an organized sequence. So what that means is that there is a certain level of information that we have been given that must precede in steps. Step 1, step 2, step 3, step 4, all the way until there is a thorough understanding of the process that we must have in order for us to come to the right conscious awareness, right? But that was not directly given to us. That was indirectly given to us, because think about it like this. The master teacher done wrote over 480 some odd scrolls, right? And if you picked up a specific scroll that started you in the universe with the Anunnaki, right? Or the cloning process, or I should say the in vitro fertilization of cloning Homo erectus to Homo sapien. And then this brother right here, or sister right here, they picked up a scroll that spoke about Nibiru and the Anunnaki, fact or fiction. And then this other brother right here, he started from the Islamic scrolls, based on the Ansar doctrine. That's not actually a starting point as far as like in the organized sequence that literally has our minds in a plethora of different informational aspects that does not necessarily corroborate with what a Nuwapian believes. Because if you really look at the scrolls and you want to be honest, most of the scrolls that are written do not tell you what a Nuwapian believes. It actually teaches us to challenge the different levels of misinformation and the different false religions that we've been fed by Eurocentric people. You understand?
Definitely.
Okay, so like I said, in chapter 10, tablet 12 of the Holy Tablets, verse 187, it says, if knowledge is not to be confusing and thereby ineffective, it must be an organized sequence. So that means that the master teacher was telling us, hey, with this information, it must precede in steps. You must have a starting point. But it was never directly given to us in a starting point, even though he outlined that particular train of thought inside of the Holy Tablets. So the Four Noble Facts basically outlines the 4 aspects of the spell of Leviathan, in which we use the Nuwapic term Zom to describe that, so that you know why you actually study these teachings, to be able to counteract, or what we call break the spell of Leviathan. Y'all can go ahead and ask the next question.
Right. Yeah, and I have a question dealing with it's a 2-part question. Dealing with Amun, Atun, Amun, Atun, Anum, and what's the 4th one? I'm missing one. Atun, Amun, Anum. There's another one. I'm not seeing it right.
I know exactly what you're reaching at.
So it's four. What are the four rays meanings and what are they used for?
Okay. When we're dealing with this, we're literally talking about the four positions of the sun, right? So Atum Ray and Moon Ray and the other two aspects of the positions of the sun is high sun, morning sun, noon sun, evening sun, and night sun. We're talking about the four aspects of the positions of the sun as the planet rotates around the sun and gives us the different aspects of day and night. Y'all understand that? So in ancient Egypt, because you call that a quadity, you have a trinity and a quadity. The trinity deals with the three aspects. The quadity deals with the four aspects. And it's nothing more than basically, as the planet rotates, it actually gives us the perception of the different times of the day. But in ancient Egypt, what it does is it names it in the form of actual deities. Like if you go to Ashatat, the prayer, it uses more of the three aspects than the four aspects of the sun, the rising of the sun, and which we know the sun doesn't actually rise, but it gives the appearance that it rises, based on the rotation of the planet. But it basically gives us the perception that we should pay homage or give reference to the sun at different times of the day. Thus, when you go to our Ashatat system of prayer, right, based on the ancient Egyptian prayer, these are the 3 times of the day that we actually should make prayer. They're nothing more than the 3 positions of the sun as the planet makes a rotation. As we know that the summer is called Kafut, right, which represents levity, and its symbol is the upward pyramid symbol, because we know the heat rises, flowers bloom, grass grows, crops grow, etc. Things bloom and grow in the summer. Then the winter is called Wagor, which is gravity, and its symbol is the downward pyramid symbol, because leaves fall, flowers die, animals hibernate, things die and go beneath the earth in the winter. And this is what actually formed one of the aspects or meanings of the 6-pointed star, because the upward pyramid is levity, things growing, and the downward pyramid is gravity, things dying, and so on and so forth. And we're talking about the summer solstice and the actual winter solstice, right? So when we do our obligatory Ashatat, right, which is the Atum Re Ashatat, it's at 5:30 a.m. because of the position of the sun at that particular part of the day being called Atum Re. Then from there, it's called Atun Re, right? And we do Ashatat at 3 p.m. based on the fact that this is what we call afternoon prayer because of the position of the sun. Then we have Amun Re, which is like 9 o'clock Ashatat, because Amun means hidden. So this is the part of the day where the sun is not seen. And all of this can be also found in, like I said, the Pa'ashatat Shel Gadum Tamarayat, the prayer of the ancient Egyptians. So in other words, Atum Re would be the sun in the morning. Atun would be the sun in the noon. And Amun Re would be the sun during the shadow hour. Y'all understand that?
Correct. You said a moon or a noon?
Amun.
Okay, but so what about a noon?
And noon is in the middle way position of the sun. So like, let's say you have morning, noon, evening, and then shadow hour. So that's Atun, and noon, and Amun. And it all has Ray at the end of it.
No, I got it.
Oh, okay.
Any more questions?
How do you self-identify as a Nubian?
Okay, self-identifying as a Nubian, um, which we say plural Nuwabian, that comes from actually being inducted in the rites and the rituals initiation-wise, which you spoke about this earlier, that allows us to be a full member of that community. What happens is certain people or a certain group of people think that it's strictly about study, right? But it's really about having the thought, the action, and the words of a Nubian, as well as basically being able to be inducted into the Nubian culture. So like say for example, we have a saying, in order to think, speak, and act like a Nuwapian, you must have the elements that allow you to aid and assist yourself to be able to do so. So how do we think like a Nuwapian? We think like Nuwapians or Nubians or Ethiopian Kushites by the Holy Tablets. Why? Because this is our primary source of information. The Holy Tablets pretty much is our reference point because this is about our story. How do we speak like a Nuwapian or a Nubian? By learning the Nubian or Nuwapic language, right? And how do we act like a Nuwapian? By us incorporating the behavioral patterns based on the Nuwapian divine laws. So all of these things combine to give us the thought, speech, and behavioral patterns of a Nubian, or, as we say, plural, Nuwabian, Ethiopian Kushite, as well as being able to have the not have, but as us being able to take the initiation ritual and rites that allows us to actually be inducted into that said particular culture. And that's usually how it's done.
Okay, Brother Messiah.
I'm listening.
Can you give a little bit of understanding about the five noble facts from a verbal perspective?
Okay. So the fivefold noble facts, what is actually called the fivefold noble path. Are you talking about the four noble facts, which deals with Zom, or the fivefold noble path, which deals with right knowledge, right wisdom, right understanding, right reasoning, and right action?
I was really stating the four. I said it wrong. It was four.
Okay, so the four noble facts. Again, this is based on us coming to the awareness of Zom, the nature of Zom, or what we call the spell of Leviathan, the origin of Zom, which is the origin of the spell of Leviathan, the breaking of Zom, and the path or the method that we use to break it. For example, there are certain acts that are forbidden that represent Zom, right? So let me give you acts that would be considered that you're still in Zom. Wearing the Christian cross or Islamic symbols such as dhikr beads is a part of Zom. Why? Because these are symbols or signs that represent the spell. Going into religious sanctuaries where the spell is promoted would still mean you're under Zom. Eating
right.
bad foods like pork, etc., would actually be considered that you're still under Zom. Praying to the spirit forces of alien religion, these are what you call acts, because what you got to realize about the term Zom is it is what you call a verbal noun. And a verbal noun means it could be an action or a thing. So what I'm outlining to you are the actions of Zom as opposed to the noun itself, like the book, the religious books, or the religious beliefs or the act of believing. So let's say, for example, to advocate the spell by advocating alien religions means that we believe that a person that's doing that means that they believe that these particular things are good for us to be able to practice, submerge ourselves into, even if it has a harmful effect, right? Referring to oneself by identities of a spell is committing acts of harm. I'm a Christian. I'm a Muslim. I'm a Jew, right? Practicing the rites and rituals of alien of religion is acts of Zom. If you want to get baptized in the church, if you want to take a shahada al-Islam, and so on and
Yes.
so forth.
Yes.
Right? All of these are what we consider to be acts of the spell of Leviathan because it keeps us tied to mental and physical bondage to adverse forces. And remember,
Right.
adverse force is nothing more than any person, place, thing, or idea, right, that hinders
Yes.
the survival and well-being of us as a people.
Fantastic. Yes. I believe that.
Any more questions?
Man.
Y'all can ask more questions. If y'all want me to go.
I'm just feeling this because I despise all those things. All of those things that was associated with Islam to any of it more, and the symbols. I would never wear anything that associated myself, be a Muslim or identify myself or call attention to myself as a Christian. I would just not want anybody to associate with me with any of that. So I'm just so happy right now to hear this. I'm just giving some testimony, no question. I'm just
Okay, so in a nutshell, anything that links us to a form of miseducation that influences our thought process and our behavioral, our behaviors or action is actually a spell. It could be something simple as doing drugs, or something simple as the brother Jesus was saying that, because I only elaborated on it in, gave a brief synopsis in class that, people may take it as bias and just say religion, but you have a spell of sex, you have the spell of love. A spell is when anybody has a fundamental misconception of reality. That's all it is. To have a fun, like for example, if you believe that what goes up keeps going up when gravity is involved, that's definitely a spell, because that's a fundamental conception of reality. Because the facts are, what goes up must come down when gravity is involved.
yeah.
Makes sense.
Oh,
What is yours on this one?
The spell is basically you cutting off your common sense in a nutshell.
Say that
Yeah.
again.
The spell is basically them cutting off your common sense in a nutshell.
Right. And sometimes it's not common sense, because common sense is not always common, especially when you're looking at it from a form of sophisticated information. Like, for example, people disseminate a lot of information to us. Like, we're always getting bombarded with information, but based on the subject matter of the information that people are giving us, it's not always just common sense to be able to go look up and find. Then we have to look at this too, right? That some people have the power of speech and perfect articulation, right? So with that being said, it's also matters like the conveyor of the message and what sounds good, because a person can sound deep and make absolutely no damn sense. You feel what I'm saying? So based on the fact that they make absolutely no sense with what they're saying, and then you may not come equipped with the information or the research sources to research it, then you're only at this point trying to basically make a decision based on how well the information is disseminated. And this can also cause a spell, because just because a person sounds good with what they're saying doesn't mean that it's fact or truth. It just means that they sound good, right? I gave an example in the book, The Four Noble Facts, that we've been taught to take Holy Communion And they're literally saying in the Bible that you eat this bread or this cracker in symbolism of somebody's flesh, and you drink this non-alcoholic wine in symbolic of a person's
Cannibalism.
blood. That's cannibalism in nature, because it doesn't matter whether it was allegorical or whether it was literal. The fact of the matter remains is, how can you be saved by symbolically or literally eating a person's flesh or drinking their blood? Like, how is that going to save you? Where's the salvation that comes out of that?
Right.
So I
Yeah,
think
that
that,
goes together.
no, go ahead. I'm listening, sis.
No, I was just saying that absolutely doesn't go together. It's literally a construct of going against yourself on purpose, pretty much.
Right. So the spell of Leviathan, because now when you really break down Leviathan, let's jump into that. Levi means law, and it means sin, right? So Leviathan means the laws of sin. But when you break down the word sin, that goes back to an ancient Mesopotamian deity, Nanarsin, that was associated with the moon and water. Now, in ancient alchemical symbolism, the moon represented the rational aspect of the mind, and water represented delusion, right? So it also represented in ancient alchemical symbolism the point of the mind that is pretty much hindered by being able to thoroughly rationalize and use reasoning. So it's, when you really break down the Leviathan and the laws of sin, is based on irrational or unreasonable thoughts. So true sin is to think irrational and unreasonable. These are symbolisms. It had nothing to do with the belief in a God and violating the laws of a book. Go look it up. Go look up ancient alchemical mythology as it related to the Sumerian deity Nannar-Sin, and then go look up the symbolism metaphysically and alchemically of the term Leviathan. It's literally talking about people who think and act and speak illogical and unreasonable. And even hell, right, was also a word that actually was associated with the same characteristics. Why do they have negative connotations? Simple, because if we develop the habit of thinking illogical and unreasonable, we definitely will end up in a living hell.
Brother Messiah, can you talk about, I read about water representing mythology. Can you expound on that?
In what way? You're saying water
No,
represents
I read
mythology?
it said that when we speak of water, it's representing mythology or mythological teachings.
Okay, so it's various different societies that have different contexts in which they explain the elements, right?
Okay.
But if you read the Holy Tablets, you'll see that, and it explains this in chapter 7 of the Living Soul, that water is an element that represents delusion. And it even expounded on water signs and the thought processes based on water signs, right? So let's go here with it. Water not only represents delusion, but it represents a certain level of dominance and aggression. If you look at the world geographically, you show me a land that's surrounded around water, I'll show you the most aggressive people. Charleston, South Carolina, Somalia, Ethiopia, right? And if you look at the animals that come from the water, they are some of the most aggressive creatures on the planet. If there's a lot. So water affects the mind in a delusionary way. And in ancient societies, they understood how the element water actually affected people, even though on the positive level, they're saying that we must become like water in certain aspects because it's formless, right? It has mobility. It constantly has the ability to transform, right? So there's always positive and negative when we're talking about the elements, right? There is no specific line that we actually cross. It's all based on intent. As I was speaking with the brother Rod Hayes earlier when he was outlining that. For example, Fire can be used positive or negatively. I can use fire to cook you a hot meal that's going to nourish your body, or I can use fire to burn you up. I can use water positive or negatively. I can use water to fix you a nice drink that's going to quench your thirst, or I can use water to drown you. You understand what I'm saying? But just in ancient alchemical symbolism, water was considered to be an element that causes delusion of the mind and aggression. And again, if you go back to most ancient societies that, or not just ancient, modern societies for that matter, that are surrounded around water, like I said prior, if you show me a land that's surrounded around water, I'll show you the most aggressive people, as well as the animal aspect of it all. Crocodiles, alligators.
You
Say that again.
You explain in Florida for me.
You feel what I'm saying? You show me where water is surrounded around, I'll show you the most aggressive people. Just think about it. Look at most of the places that's surrounded around large bodies of water. You have the most aggressive people and the most aggressive animals that's a part of that water kingdom.
Yep. Yeah, that's a fact right there.
So let's go here with it, because I want you guys to be able to expound as well. We was actually having a conversation earlier. Actually, I had a conversation with the brother Young Elder, and he was thinking that maybe we might need to bring some light on like social issues, or I should say domestic issues concerning like relationships. And so I wanted y'all to expound on a little bit of that as well. Whenever you guys have questions that y'all want me to answer, I'll do it. One question I have for everybody is, what is y'all take on actually rebuilding the Black family and the household as it relates to us getting along with our mates and being good fathers and mothers to our children, and how that will work to build a better community?
I would start by saying healing. There are a lot of wounds. It's a lot of mistrust in self. If you mistrust yourself, you cannot trust, expound, build, nothing, because your foundation is crippling. Every moment you move, you're like hurting, your body's in pain and you're wondering why. You're going to the doctor and you're being prescribed things that are still not helping you. So healing is my point of view.
Yeah, well, I think it's because we're still doing the same things that our slave ancestors did. In a lot of ways, I still see our people saying, oh, this is the way my grandmother did it. So that's why I use tide. I do this because, this is what this ancestor did. But our ancestors were under slave mentality. So, when do you break the cycle? If you follow in the mentality of a slave, you're always gonna, have that mentality. You have to break the cycle.
What about you, Jesus? What do you think?
Well, I think one, there's great importance for the family dynamic to come back as what it once was within the said Black community. All right, quote unquote Black. But one of the major things outside of the existential situations or circumstances that brought the fathers out of the household is that ability to be able to communicate, with the mother or the father, and understand that we are equal. There's no one greater than the other. But when the two of us come together, we're like an unstoppable force. You know what I'm saying? It's like two halves coming together. So being able to do that and have the communication, so that way, if things go wrong or whatever, the children don't witness all of that. There's an understanding that, okay, look, we have differences. We don't speak about these in front of the kids. For parents that aren't together, not kicking the other parent's name in the dirt in front of the child. You know, so there's a number of things. There's a number of things that could be done.
Yeah, I just think we need a new mind. I mean, we can't operate on this mind that it's not working for us. It's been proven to failure. So, I mean, a new mind is necessary for us, you know, to do anything first. Because
how do we handle the sisters or brothers that don't have the self-control to not bring, like, what do we do for that? That don't have the self-control to keep certain negative issues out of the actual, out of the way of the children, so to speak, like out of their presence.
Reword that question for me. I don't think I quite follow.
Okay, I was listening to what Jesus was saying, like not actually doing certain things in front of the children in the household. Some people don't have or have not developed the self-control not to argue, scream, yell, curse, call names in front of the children.
Yep, that's true.
They really lack the self-control because at certain moments their emotions take over more than their reason, and they feel justified simply because they've been made to feel a certain kind of way.
Yeah,
So
I think oh, go ahead. I'm sorry.
No, go ahead. I was just asking, what do we do about that?
No, I think in an argument, you can argue with yourself, but definitely what we're referencing is two people arguing. I think it's up to one of the parties to recognize like the irrationality of what's going on, and like you always have a choice in engaging. So somebody got to be like take the high ground and not engage when you're around your children, because I mean it's two of y'all there, so somebody got to have the children in mind. It shouldn't be a situation where both parties is necessarily at each other's throat over whatever the issue is in front of the children, because I mean you're just reinforcing negative stereotypes that we're looking to get away from. So I mean you got to have enough restraint to restrain yourself in the moment, and hopefully you're able to restrain your partner in the moment. And I mean when you get into another setting where you can discuss the matter, hopefully y'all have cooled down enough to where, I mean, it'll be a proper discussion where you almost want the kids around the discussion, because it's not, I think the issues is just the ways that we've learned to communicate. We've learned to communicate from a defensive position all of the time. And typically when you communicating from that position, it's like, it's fight or flight. Like you fighting for your life, basically. So a lot of people just, I mean, they hit below the belt. It ain't no rules. You do whatever you can to survive that moment. And some people take it too far because they totally, like you said, they're not acting rationally. Like it's almost like it's really not them. Like they lost consciousness and they just doing whatever just to get through that moment. Because a lot of times you'll hear people say like they can't even really recall everything that went on. It was just so animated that it went left and they don't remember it. So
I would say, pardon me for cutting your wisdom. Go ahead.
No. Go ahead. You can go ahead.
Nah, so I would say to piggyback on what the sister was saying earlier, one, healing, but knowing how to heal and what to heal. You know, a lot of individuals don't even realize that they've been hurt or damaged, or for the better term, aberrated. You know, a lot of people don't realize that at all. So coming to understand that, one, I gotta heal. How do I go about the heal? And the other part about that is, especially for, like he asked in the question, the man who would become irate or what have you, learning how to deal with your emotions, especially in the Black community for males. We're not taught how to handle our emotions. We're told from a very young age, don't cry, suck it up, walk it off. You know what I'm saying? Tough it out. You know what I mean? So we're taught from the very beginning to bottle our stuff up. And a lot of times, what do we do when we get older? Something happens and it causes us to snap.
we don't know how to handle it. So now we just want to go and punch this or beat that up or verbally beat something up. You get where I'm coming from?
Exactly. Not
That is
only
a
If you
very
take it
strong.
back and off of what the brother Jesus just said, it's kind of like if we even going back farther to what he said when he's talking about the balance and pretty much in the household, I look at it as if both parties understand their role, as far as the man understanding his role and the woman understanding her role, the emotion part, because most men are usually thinking logic, not thinking emotion. So we do go off the end, but it's because we're thinking off whatever's being said. I feel like a lot of women nowadays, they're more on the defensive edge, when back in the day, they thought more offensive and thought ahead of more in the aspect of, I'm going to say this to calm him down. Versus I'm going to say this to push that button I know can get him to react a certain way. Because a lot of our women nowadays, they usually try to hit that button versus actually push the button to calm the situation down. So if each party understands their role, I feel like, it'll pretty much put everything back in the aspect of the balance that's needed.
okay.
And
I agree with that,
Right.
but I didn't mean to cut y'all off, but I agree with that. But let me propose this because I've been in relationships to whereas on my end, and I've seen relationships on the sister's end where you get partners that have no sense of rationale. Like for example, let's you're in a relationship with the person, right, male or female, and that person done something to you to rub you wrong. It seems almost as from that day forward that there lacks the ability to be able to grasp the concept of calmness because whatever wrong was done, it makes you kind of tense. And once when the person becomes tense, the defenses go up. So at the slightest move you make, I don't care what you do, you can cough. And this is going to breed that aggression in that person. And I noticed that, in certain relationships, you can sit there all day long and try to be the calm side. But I've seen relationships go left strictly because you don't want to incite argument because the person believes that you should be able to respond to them right here, right now, basically that they're feeling, and let's just say you're the cause, male or female, and that becomes the justification. So how do you deal with that?
I think that's all about knowing your mate, because you got to know.
Yeah.
You have to actually know the person, and a lot of things we don't know who we are. Like a lot of people don't know. Like I'm a fire sign, so I know that things can inflame me, rage me. So guess what I do? I like to go ahead and leave. I like to tell people ahead of time. Like if I leave or something, I'm coming back. Don't worry about it. I just got to cool off because I don't want to say anything or do or cause any type of detrimental to your feelings to make you feel a different way about me. Because I had a relationship before where I said something, she took it out of context, but I said on a pure whiff of me knowing the closeness of a previous relationship she had with another man. But at the same time, it needed to be said. So it doesn't matter that the relationship, and it was the point of the matter that I wasn't gonna stay to argue. I want you to know how I feel, and that's probably why it never really ended.
It's kind of like what you just said, though, knowing yourself, because like when you said you're a fire sign, right? I'm an earth sign, so I like to be grounded. I don't like to do all the arguing. I like to just, relax and have that conversation, chill. But at the same time, I was born of
That's me,
two
'cause
fire
I'm
signs. But I was born of two fire signs. So me being born of two fire signs, I also had that edge too, where if you push that button, I'm gonna go off the hinge. It's not like I'm just gonna stay grounded. So, by knowing yourself, it's like knowing what buttons can be pushed and kind of figuring yourself out. But also, like you said, knowing your mate, that way you know what should be pushed, what button shouldn't be pushed. But that's why I was saying it comes to that balance of both people knowing their role and understanding their side and understanding what they're supposed to pretty much be doing. But if nobody knows exactly who they are, who their mate is, at least on that aspect, you don't even know pretty much where to start. And that's something that a lot of us don't even think about in our culture because, we look at it like none of that's true. So we don't pretty much look into it at all,
Yeah, it's like a dance, when you're dancing. For me, right, I choose for my mate to take the lead, which would be a man. Let me be real specific in this era. But you know, he would take the lead, you know, and I would do my best to not step on his feet, you know, do my best to not misstep, and he should do his best to not step on my feet.
You a water sign?
I am.
I knew it.
I'm actually like a double water sign. Like it's mutable and fixed.
Yeah, it's like
How
you
do
go
you
with the flow as long as you agree with it.
I got a
Right.
question. So how do y'all feel about the zodiac in relation to relationships? Like, do you really believe that certain signs are more perfect matches than other signs?
That is a cataclysmic, right? Because Western society has made that like a focal point. But I research a lot of different avenues, right? Because everything goes together. It's been scattered on purpose. A lot of the, now I'm not promoting this when I say it, but a lot of the Hindu construct in astrological symbols and such, and also Mandarin, or people mainly would know it as Chinese because people just like using that word, and that's fine. That zodiac, now that is super deep because your sign literally is fixed for 12 years. It goes every 12 years. So it's actually, it goes like in super, super deep detail. And it's about 12 different ways to do it. And unless you put all of them together, you are still missing different avenues of yourself. You know what I mean? Like as far as awareness of who you are, where you could be going. It even breaks it down to like from 1 to 7, from 7 to 14, from 14 to 21, or 20 something, and then it goes from 20 to like 50. And then until you reascend basically. So it goes pretty deep. Western does not do that. It's just very, very surface. If you
Well,
can
for me, as far as it goes, I don't do the zodiac heavy. As far as the Capricorn and Gemini, and I don't do that heavy. I believe more in the energy side of earth, wind, fire, water. As far as like what Young Elder was going in on one time, but he was mentioning also the zodiac signs. I don't too much go in with the zodiac signs, but the energy side of it actually lines up a lot. So I look into that part of it. It makes a lot of sense. When you look at a person's character and you add along with it, you can kind of see, like I was saying, how you can act with a person, how you can deal with a person. So
yes, and that goes back to one that I brought up, that you might want to look into, the Mandarin, or as is more commonly phrased, Chinese, but I prefer the correct term anyway. So they really, really go into a lot, like a whole lot of in-depth, because it goes from that aspect as well, but it also goes into everything, everything you can think of that may make a person, triggered or untriggered or super excited, or all kinds of different things. It's really dope.
yeah, that's what I kind of
Yeah, I don't really just believe in the zodiac, like per se, because like there's people who writing this stuff. So my thing is it's the characteristic. Now your life
the energy.
pattern would add to your characteristics. You might have went through another Scorpio went through. You might have been a Scorpio, went through something another Scorpio didn't go through, and you have totally different mannerisms because you went through that path. My life is not your life because I'm an Aries and you're Aries. I've been plenty of Aries. We are not alike. But see, I'm more of a different kind of Aries. It's like everybody's significant. We're all significant. You're born at a certain time, a certain moment, and the certain stars will align. They will never be aligned like that ever again because the universe is constantly in motion. It's constantly moving. So that attribute that you have is your identity as in this avatar that we're living in this form that we're in right now as we speak. So that's what makes your position more precise, because there's some signs, they tell me certain signs are not compatible with me. And then I meet another sign and it says they are compatible and they're not compatible with me. And then it's been the sign that's not compatible. It's been the one who's been there for me. I'm like, so what? So I don't believe in that stuff. I believe those are characteristics that kind of explain tendencies, but they don't give a full understanding of it. So you have to base it off of personality, what they've been through, what they're going through, and where they're trying to go.
See, I hate to say it this way, but you sound like an Aries. But not an Aries, but you sound fiery. You sound like a fire sign. If you get what I'm saying. If you get what I'm saying, brother Avery, you sound like a fire sign. You get what I'm saying? You're real passionate. That's the part that I follow. The
That's what
fire,
I'm saying.
the earth, the water, the characteristics, like you said, the energy. I don't really deal with the actual zodiac sign per se. It's more the energy of what time of the year were you born. Put it that way.
That makes sense.
Yeah.
So I think that's interesting. I just, pardon me, Masai. I think it's interesting. What the brother just said, and I definitely can see his viewpoint. I think the zodiac. I think it's in alignment, and a lot of times when you dig a little bit deeper into it, it's in alignment with the constitutions and makeup of most people. You just got to do a little bit of digging and start connecting the dots. But I think it allows you to connect with yourself on a deeper level. When you start to break down the meanings of what the planets mean, how they correspond with one another when they're moving past one another through certain houses and through certain right, some of the aspects. So I think it's something to it. It's just like everything else, you got to sit down and try and gain a proper perspective with it. And I mean, eventually, I think all of the information, it ties together in some way. You just got to understand it all.
Right.
Okay. So let's go here with it. Okay. So this is to the brothers, and then we'll go to the sister and get her to expound. Since this is really y'all night, because I did a live with the sisters night before last.
Right.
How do you think that we as the men could better ourselves to basically fit a better, I should say, perform in a better way in our role as men to make more cohesive relationships with our women? Don't everybody talk about?
We need more like-minded men to be around each other, honestly. Like one time we spoke personally, and I was telling you, it's not a lot of people around me that I can have certain conversations with. But if I had certain people around me I can have certain conversations with, it'll allow and build a certain trust. So it gets to a point where you kind of build that bond of what you call a brotherhood, and you don't want to let your brother down. You get what I'm saying? It allows you to kind of put a certain level of.
I'm sorry, I didn't mean to cut you off because I didn't know where you was going with it, so I was trying to put something else in your ear to let you go. How does that apply to the question of how can we be better men, in so many words, to our women? Like, what can we do to better enhance ourselves to be better men to our women?
I believe that we should have. Go ahead, I'm listening, bro.
No, you got it, bro.
I believe we should keep on doing what we're doing now, because talking to each other. A lot of times we don't have nobody to talk to. Like when I got problems, I'm a single father. Like when I have problems, I don't have nobody to talk to. But I have a brother in particular that we kind of go through similar things 2-3 years apart from each other. So that's who I usually go to. Somebody who has some kind of similarity to me, since we don't have our generational things going where the fathers and the sons and the grandfathers are all linked together. We're not linked together like we used to be. So we can't be like, Granddad, what would you do back in your time? Or, ooh, did they act like that? You know what I'm saying? We're really just going off what we see in movies and what the few people we run across in our day-to-day lives, like work and stuff like that.
Yeah, because that brotherhood goes into like what the sister Jazz was saying. I think that's Sister Jazz. Like what she was saying is pretty much where, you allow yourself to heal. You're dealing with somebody that's been through something that you've been through. It's kind of like what they have with the psychiatrist. You get to go and sit down with somebody. Now you have a brother that you can build with, and get certain stuff off your chest. Because a lot of men don't have a person that we can vent to. So by us having somebody that we can vent to, as far as us being on the same mindset, as far as like what we're talking about right now, it allows us to heal from certain situations and get a different aspect on certain situation that we went through, you know, you can grow from it, and it allows you to actually have a relationship with a woman and be more open with her because you pretty much healed. Healing.
I think another thing to add to that is actually speaking to the women themselves and getting their perspective. And if talking to the woman you with isn't conducive to the outcome of some sort of positive result, then speaking to another woman and just getting her perspective, a non-biased one, you know, maybe even a stranger.
Very important.
You know, I think what y'all saying is facts because iron sharpens iron. So, and I do this with my brothers who are on this chat right now. You know, we'll have a tendency because perhaps we didn't understand where the female was coming from or whatever the case, and so we'll speak amongst ourselves, but we're still just getting the male perspective at the end of the day. So, you know, to get her side or the female side, it would definitely aid in how we can be better in regards to better men for them.
Yeah. So what I look at, brother, I have with my wife and I think like a lot of it is due like with the vision of tasks, you know, what that person is good at, you know, like my wife is good at like paying the bills and, you know, keeping up with the finances and things like that. And so she takes care of that and, you know, the house and all that. And then other tasks that I do, you know, we have tenants. She doesn't like to deal with difficult personalities. So when something comes up, you know, I deal with that, you know, stuff like we don't talk about, like, you know, she's still in the Christian world. So we don't talk about religion or anything, because that could be a subject of it will be a subject of argument if we start. So we decided, well, we're not going to talk about that because, you know, it can lead to an argument, you know. So we, you know, just try to work, you know, doing the things that each other does well, and then try to avoid, you know, arguments.
Yo, another thing to say to that right there is not falling into routine. So I was married for 20 years, and I found myself not necessarily doing the same things I did in the very beginning to woo her. You know what I'm saying? Now, I ain't saying that that's our job or whatever, but if you think about it, in the very beginning, unless she was the one that approached you, you approached her. You know what I'm saying? You had to solicit yourself to her for her to be like, all right, well, he's the best candidate for me to deal with. You know what I'm saying? And then we have a tendency that after we done been together for a while, we fall into the routine. You taking care of this, I'm taking care of that. I got to go over here and do this. You go over here and do that. We might link up together and do this right here. And some people even to the point where they got to schedule intimacy, you know?
Right.
And that's just too. It's like, all right, where's the love right there? Not saying that you don't love the person, but it's not the same no more. And a lot of times we'll look at it like, well, shit, I was spending quality time with you because me and you was sitting on the couch watching a movie together, where she may be like, nah, that ain't quality time. You know what I'm saying? Because when we was first kicking it, quality time was you took me out and we went and did this or whatever. You get where I'm coming from?
When they get away from the routine, right.
Yeah, no doubt.
Right, I feel you. So you say are you married still, brother?
So
no, I'm not. To answer your question, no, I'm not.
Yes.
So okay, so let's ask this part further dialogue because I like the way this is going. You have relationships where you have people that what most women would call not equally yoked, right? And in these cases, because I don't know why people make me a counselor, but I do it anyway, even though I got more problems than they do probably. But I'm just saying, people seem to feel like I'm an easygoing person. They can talk to me about their problems, and I definitely keep the secrets. So with that being said, I hear all of, like, a lot of times with the women mostly saying that with the mate that they have, that they're unequally yoked. However, I see that those relationships still persist. So this question is going to be more for Jazzy. And is there any more females in the group? Okay, I see the sister Taya, Rahubat, and Timbia. So this is going to be more so for the sisters. When you find a man that is unequally yoked, explain to us what is it about the relationship that makes you persist in that relationship, and have belief and hope that that relationship will work, even though you've already deemed it to be that you all are unequally yoked. Y'all can take the floor.
I'll go ahead and start. So pretty much it's a 3-part answer. The first part is that you're not healed. Because you're not healed, you're willing to allow things to occur that should not be occurring. Number 3, we are nurturers naturally. Even if you do not have children, you're nurturing something, you're building something, you're expanding upon something, you're learning something. All of those things need nurturing, including yourself. So that part sort of takes over, even if you're not healed, and you will attempt, which is unhealthy, to raise this man and hold him accountable for becoming the man you actually choose to or would have chosen to be with if things would have went the way that you thought they were going, but not realizing that healing, which was number 1, should have been taking place before you even got with him. That's my answer.
Either Timbia or Taya, we want the ladies to be able to speak on this one because this was directed towards them. Don't everybody speak at one time now.
You might have to excuse my background. It's my daughter. So I think I agree with Jazzy. I completely agree. It just depends. When you mean equally yoked, because that's gonna be like, are you mean like overall? You're talking about just one specific thing? Because that could be a lot of things. You could be talking about financially, mentally, or you just saying in general.
Okay.
Equally yoked is a circle, right?
So I'm sorry. Go ahead, sis. Go ahead. I didn't mean to overtalk you. Go ahead. Get it out. I need you to speak.
Yeah. But equally yoked, right? I mean, it's sort of in my brain like a Christian term. I don't like the term myself, but it's like a circle, right? If the circle is not rotating properly, the middle of that circle, which is really like a tree of life in a way as well, and a lot of expounding on that, but if the circle is not rotating properly, everything in the middle is catastrophic, even if it's taking time to break down, like a smoker, right? You're smoking and you know that in most people's brains, you've been wired to assume and project the phrase, I'm just stressed out, so I'm smoking. But the reality of your mind, your heart, and your lungs are actually going up 10 times like that, like a snap. Your blood pressure goes so high that you might pass out as soon as you hit the cigarette one time. And you continue to do it over and over and over and over. And then like the other brother was saying, it becomes repetitive and you just keep going and you just keep going. And it never decides to heal itself because you know, with your mind frame that's not healed, decided not to do anything about it and just keep doing it. But go ahead.
But I disagree about that because like the brother just said, he's into right reasoning. His wife is Christian, if I'm not mistaken. So from your point of view, you would say they're not equally yoked. But from what I just heard, I just came in, it seemed like they're making it work. So that's why I said it just depends. Because you can't necessarily say, let's just say everything else fits. And I don't want to keep using his situation as an example. But if you were to say, piggybacking off the example that you just stated, so you're basically saying about the Christians and his reasoning, so they're not equally yoked. But if everything else is working, I don't feel like that has anything to do, but that is a part. But as far as the healing, I disagree with that part. I don't feel like that means that you're not healed. I just feel like when you're with someone and you guys are not on the same level, it depends. It's tiers to it. I don't feel like you could say, well, you're not equally yoked because of that or because of healing. Some of this stuff comes with time, It's it's like you can't just say that just because they're not on the same level because of one part, but they're able to come together and make it work. They're not equally yoked. You get what I'm saying? So that part I disagree. So that's
Okay,
why I was asking.
so let me get this straight, because I listen to both sides, and I do think that both of y'all have good, strong points. From the sister Jazzy's perspective, is that at some point it kind of sort of comes across to her. And correct me if I'm wrong, Jazzy, because I know I'm about to mess the wording up, and I don't want to mess your words up. I know that's very important, but that means that there is a certain healing that hasn't taken place as an individual that has entered a relationship. But what Timbia is pretty much saying is that it's not so much that, you know, a person is unhealed. It just means that they're just at certain aspects of the relationship, they're just on two different levels.
Right.
Is that what what's being? Go ahead. It's up to you. I'm just trying to.
Oh, what? Yeah, but I agree
Like
with
they both
everything.
make valid points, like you said.
Mhm.
Yeah, I don't know, sister. You said that, you know, it's a part. It's, you know, it is a big part. You know, I say, you know, it's not a little part. It is a big part. But you know, I just, you know, from my perspective, you know, I just, you know, have to work with that. You know, it's just something that, because, you know, you want to be able to talk with that person about what you're thinking without opposition. And opposition is coming from the devil. And I'm not talking about, you know, material, physical, spiritual. I'm talking about, you know, the enemy, you know, in their mentality. So you fighting that too. So you don't, you know, you have to watch where you tread, where you stay, because the enemy is in that mind, and it comes out and it strikes at you on behalf of them. So, you know what I'm saying?
To interject on what you just stated, right? I'll put it in a different phrase because so landmines, right?
Okay.
When there's a landmine field, right? You don't know where they are, right?
Okay.
You cannot pinpoint them. They're purposefully hidden on purpose, right? So you can want to go straight, and you can want to get that narrow, that straight and narrow, and that righteous, and that, you know, the five noble path, and you want that, and it is everything you want to do and say and breathe and eat and talk and speak and exercise and everything, right? But you have landmines. You must go around, right?
Maneuver around those landmines. Yeah.
Exactly.
Yeah, but that's part of being a human, though. I mean, we all gonna have that.
Yeah.
No, it's that just like it's.
I don't want to live like that.
I get what the sister's saying. Yeah, that's what she's saying. Basically, if you healed, you pretty much, you're not gonna deal with those landmines. Sooner or later, you're just gonna find another field.
Yeah.
If not, you know, you're gonna continue to deal with landmines.
We get
that's
to
because
that.
you're not healed. Basically, you're allowing yourself to deal with something that you don't want to deal with.
It's getting to that point.
I get what she's saying.
Getting to that point. It's getting to that point for me. It is. Definitely.
Right. That's why I say it depends on what do you mean by equally yoked. You could be, it's tiers to it. You can mentally, physically, financially, you know. So
okay, so
that's why I'm saying it just depends.
Yeah. So let me interject just for a brief second. When I said that I think, and I made it too broad and too general, because usually when women are actually saying that to me, they're not specifying everything. They're specifying whatever specific problem they have with their mate, and saying that they're unequally yoked. For example, I had a conversation with a sister who I don't like putting people's business out there, naming them, because there's no need for that. But I had a conversation with a sister, and based on the fact that she didn't feel like she wanted to be more of an entrepreneur, right? And pursue her dreams as not, working a regular job and, living in the society based as an employee. Whereas her man was he's fine with his job. He's been driving a bus, the New York Transit, for like years. And he's gonna retire there, and he was straight. She felt some kind of way because he wasn't more pulled into the direction of like the entrepreneurship. So she said that to me. Another sister basically brought that to my attention based on the fact that she is Rasta. No, she was Ifa, and her man was Christian, and basically she felt like she wanted him to participate in her cultural practices, but he was kind of unreceptive. So she used the term. So I think that based on the way the sister Timbia is outlining it, is that unequally yoked doesn't mean that there's just like all across the board in a relationship that they're not connected with. There are specific things that they're not connected with. If making Timbia correct.
Right. So unequally yoked wouldn't be the correct term for that situation. That's what I was saying. They don't sound like it means unequally yoked. It's just a disagreement. That ain't what she believe in. That's not what he want to do. You know?
Right.
Well,
that's
that's what women are.
thing.
So we need to actually. So tell me how I can correct them to tell them not to tell me that no more.
That just goes to like it's. I'm not gonna necessarily say. Well, yeah, I'm gonna be honest. It's an ego. I mean, with women, that's just how we are. The ego come into play. They don't want to admit it, but it is. That is an ego.
Yeah.
You can't say that you guys are unequally yoked because they don't agree to what you feel like they should agree to. No, that is the ego that's being stubborn. You know, it gets to the point where you have to find a mate, even if you guys don't agree. I mean, we're human. You know, opposites attract. I feel like if you feel like that's something that you can't deal with, then you just say, hey, I'm on a different path. I'm on a different frequency. But you don't make another man feel less than because they don't agree to what you're agreeing to. You got to get out of that, you know?
Okay.
And in my aspect, I don't even the equally yoked. That's a term that's thrown out. You need a balance. A balance is I might be a busy person all the time, and you might not have a lot of stuff to do. So we balance it out. That's to me, that's equal because you don't have to be the same amount of money. You got to do the same amount of things. But guess what? I feel like if you in there cooking and I ain't got shit else to do, I need to get in there and help you do something, or I could.
Yeah,
that's right.
Right.
Now my wife she's like everything to be perfect. You know, like the kitchen. I mean, it has everything has to be right. So, you know, I try to keep the kitchen clean. I try to keep, you know, the way she likes it, you know, keep things clean, you know, so make things the way that, you know, keep her happy, you know. So I try to go out of my way to make sure, you know, that, you know, she's comfortable.
And I'm sure she's for you, right?
Yeah. I mean, we try to be reciprocal, but I mean, I always, you know, try to do that. You know, and sometimes I can't say always. You get slacking because my wife is real about that, you know. So I mean, if something is like she's gonna tell you about it, you know, oh, this is crumbs on the floor or this or that, you know. And we know all the children are gone. We don't have any children, they all going away. So it's just us here, you know. So, you know, we kind of do. She has her own bathroom, I have my own. So we don't have to argue about that, you know. That's a big thing, you know. Women like their own stuff, and so I can't respect that.
To take it off of the brother situation, what it sounds like, just based off of hearing the two sisters talk, is the ability to have clear communication and articulate whatever it is that's on your mind. You know, where one person will use the term, just for the example, equally yoked. It carries a definition for the one person saying it to the other person who's hearing it. You see what I'm saying? So if you can have the ability, if you have the ability to actually articulate it, like the other brother came on and he said, well, opposed to saying equally yoked, or, you know, I would rather say balance. You know what I'm saying? Just that right there. Yeah. And saying, look, this is how I'm receiving that word right there. So now that we can be able to communicate on the same page.
Yeah, because if you hear equally yoked, I'm thinking that's Christian right there. That's, you know, that puts up a flag in my head right there. That sounds like something from Christianity, you know, and I don't want to deal with it.
I didn't mean to cut you off, but it's crazy because most of the people who are saying this, at least to me, I don't know about nobody else, they don't claim Christian as a religion, but maybe it could be their background, so to speak. But so I use the term based on what I'm being.
I understand, but I mean, there's words like that, trigger words like that, make me, think of it, and it's like, it makes me, it's a trigger word, you know what I mean?
Just how you explain that right there and said it's a trigger word. If you or anyone else, again, take the focus off of you and your situation, have that ability to even articulate that. You know what I'm saying? Hey, listen, what you just said right there is the trigger word. That, I received that as this. You know what I'm saying? And that could, if you don't say that, that could derail the whole conversation. So now you can't get your part out. You can't get her part out.
Yeah. I feel you on that. Yes.
So I do have another question for you all. How do y'all deal with situations and relationships? And this is very important. And I'm not saying it in an extreme way. I'm saying it in a way to whereas when certain situations occur, and you'll see what I'm getting at when I mean like certain situations versus extreme. How do you deal with situations in relationships to whereas you're kind of sort of comfortable with your partner in certain areas, and I'm gonna name those specific areas. I'm comfortable with the way that we work together as far as like to provide for the household. I'm comfortable in the way to whereas we go out to dinner, right? Or we do things as couples, but I'm uncomfortable with certain behaviors that is not necessarily conducive to my total happiness, if that makes sense.
Yes, it does.
Well, how do y'all deal with those type of situations in relationships?
You got to do what you just did right now. The same thing you just did right now. You can say it respectfully. There's a way of saying certain things where, for example, I could say, run. I could say, run. I could say, run. You know what I'm saying? And you're gonna receive it a different way. So the very words you just said, it's how you say it.
Yeah.
It's how you say it. But make sure that you say that, though. If you don't say that, then you're always going to be scratching your head. Well, like, damn, I'm uncomfortable. I'm not happy with this right here. Eventually, that's going to play out in your behavior. Remember, 85-90% communication nonverbal, right?
Yeah.
That's going to show up. You're going to talk about it whether you want to open your mouth or not.
Absolutely.
So the best
So
thing
what happens when you get
makes
a
people
partner
angry
that just
when they
say that again, Yassine?
I said another trigger word. When people say you, it's accusatory, So
right.
I like to say I, instead. So it puts it on you instead of putting it on the other person, So when you say you,
what happens when you get a partner that has absolutely no overstanding? That is just their way.
Oh man, that's just.
Yeah, I ain't picking on no eye, because if it's some shit you doing, I'm telling you, I'm sorry.
Yeah, but I understand. I mean, that's hard. I mean,
what happens when you get a partner that pretty much has no understanding? It's pretty much like you're the culprit, or let's just deal with this. I'm gonna add this to it. What happens when you, male or female, have done something wrong, and at every level of an argument, your partner constantly bring up that wrong? How does that make you feel?
Like on the
never forgive me.
Yeah, it's like you still
like
resent me. Like, what is the
persecuted?
point? Yeah, like you're resentful. Like, what is the point? You gonna get over or you ain't?
Yeah, I don't know how much of that I could take.
Yeah,
I mean, I'm out of there. I'm out of there. Sorry.
I'm looking for a default. Like you if you constantly come at me like that, and I'm constantly forgiving, because I forgive and forget. I don't hold on to grudges. That should go out
right.
the next second.
I can't.
That just made me feel like you looking for something.
Yeah, I mean.
Well, that sounds good, but just the reality of people and emotions, some people feel like you cannot tell them how long it's going to take them to get over what the hell you did.
Yeah. Okay. Right. Yeah.
It depends on
And
what you
then
do.
Exactly. It's levels of what you did too. So
yeah, and
you're
then you
supposed
have
to
to
expect
constantly.
a certain amount of it's like they say, whatever you do, only do on the others what you want done to you. So if you do something to somebody and they did it to you, and you expect to take a month to heal from it, what make you think they gonna take 2 days?
Exactly.
So
Yeah,
it's levels to it. Depends on what you did. You should
but
understand that.
at what point are you healing if you keep bringing it up? I mean, let's just say let's just say y'all have an argument and you have to bring it up, but it's what you're arguing about is not even relevant to what you did in the past. Are you healing? At that point, are you healing? Or are you just looking for something to be mad about?
It's
Because
not. It's never
That's
gonna
what I'm
be
saying. That
resolved.
person need to heal. That's what I'm talking about. That person got to heal. They
yeah,
need to heal.
that
The
has
one that
nothing to do
actually
with
keep
me.
bringing it up.
Exactly. If I did it and you say you forgive me or whatever, okay, let's try to move forward. But you can't move forward by going backwards. Don't keep bringing this shit up. If you feel like you need to take time to heal by yourself, then you do that. But you can't heal in the relationship and then just expect people to just be like, okay, I get it. I understand. I understand that you're mad, but you keep bringing it up. You think I'm supposed to be okay with that? No. If you need to heal, then you heal. Simple.
Right. That's kind of like how people be mad at each other and they stop doing their job. Like, I don't believe in it. Like, if I'm paying your phone bill or if I'm paying this, I'm doing this, and we got certain things we do, I'm not going to stop because I'm mad at you or you're mad at me. I'm going to still do it. Like, that's what we still supposed to be doing. Like, it's keep the motion still going, but the healing part got to do with the self-realization of who you are as a person. You can let certain things go. So don't even I can't heal from this. I can't. Let me know. Let the other person know.
Yeah, and a lot of people follow stuff that they learned from their parents, how their parents reacted, and they follow the same thing, and it's not necessarily worked.
All right, now what you get quiet for?
Okay, so now I'm just trying to figure out, like, out of all of the different relationship dynamics, how do you actually thrive? Because you can actually have, now people talk about the perfect relationship. I don't really know what the hell that is, but to me, it's based on what a person can deal with and what a person can't, because I don't think that there's a certain thing as a perfect person in life.
I'm sorry, brother. I'm sorry. Go ahead.
Go ahead, speak.
No, I was just I'm listening.
I don't know if there's necessarily a perfect relationship in the nature that we I guess envision that based on the representation of the word perfect and what it really means. But I think you could find the ideal partner to where you could it could present as perfect because you sought to understand the other person's misgivings and not misgivings, the things that they're not so perfect at, the thing their imperfections. Like you have an understanding that nobody's perfect. So I mean you show grace at times where it's necessary, as opposed to pushing those buttons or doubling down on what they did wrong. You give them the space to kind of go through and process what they did wrong, and you're more of a supportive person or a supportive partner, as opposed to that one that's going to make me feel worse than what I actually did. And you're not going to really be there to support me and help me through it, or help figure out how we could turn it around and turn a negative into a positive. You're just going to point the finger and kind of play the blame game. So I think if you get two people who actually seek to understand one another and give the other partner the space to do what they need to do for themselves, but when you are, I mean, always just having the level of respect in mind to treat them the way you want to be treated. I think that could be I don't know if that, I think that's as close as perfect in a relationship as you can get. And I mean, just seeking to be better each moment. And just having the understanding that it's not going to be perfect all of the time. Sometimes you'll get close. Some moments you get closer than others, but sometimes you're going to have to deal with the aspects that you don't necessarily care to deal with. But that's how you grow. And I mean, if you're seeking to do that individually and you're doing it together, I think you can get close to perfect.
Very well stated.
Right.
Mm.
Yeah, I agree.
Told you Kyle was intelligent. All right, so we done did from 7 to 9. We done got our 2 hours in. I think this was a good discussion. We're gonna do a part 2. And I really enjoyed this time, man. I think that was a good discussion. So we'll have some more questions and, dealing with this topic as well as some more topics on the next one. But right now, I put it in the group chat on Telegram that I want us to dialogue more on like family stuff, not just so much on the science. I mean, that's okay too. I'm not, denying that, but more family stuff, relationship stuff, because I think that that's really relevant because you can know all of the information that you want. If you lack the ability to be able to get along in your own household, then none of that shit matters.
Correct.
Right. Yes.
So with that being said, we gonna go ahead and close out. We didn't get a chance to hear the sister Taya tonight, but I saw her in there. So she, her support is definitely accepted. So with that being said, family, I'll see y'all tomorrow. We're definitely gonna have class, but I'm definitely gonna be doing more lives. So I'll talk to y'all tomorrow.
What do?
Why do?
Well,
I do.